journalist debut tonight. How was it? What are your emotions right now?
It's unbelievable, really. This is really good for me and my family to take a big step in my career and making an MLS debut.
What was it like out there?
Oof, it's incredible. It was seen like as you saw it. You know, we had to fight. It was a tough game. We fought all the way to the end, and then we came with the points, which I'm very excited to actually get a point and we clinched the playoff. Yeah, good.
You went out there.
All right. Well, that was Bernard Comungo after making his FC Dallas debut in that San Jose Earthquakes game. Welcome, everybody, to Big D After Dark. Just two of us tonight. I'm your host, Nathan Hill. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. And next to me is my buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona. And so,
What's up, everybody?
hey, I know there's a Cowboys game going on. Some of y'all folks are watching that, but some of y'all don't want to talk about the Cowboys. Maybe you're going to jump in here on the stream and pepper us with your questions and comments. We missed last week because of some illness, but we're back. We're back and looking forward to these final two games of FC Dallas this season of Major League Soccer and then to postseason action. Because that's the big headline, regardless of United States men's national team news and of North Texas SC losing in their playoff match. The good news is FC Dallas went to San Jose, gutted out, missing some guys, but gutted out a 1-1 draw there. You wished you had a little bit more, a few more points coming away from that match, but you take it in the sense that some other results went their way, and FC Dallas has officially clinched their playoff spot. And, you know, you take away points wherever you can get them in this league. So we just say congratulations to FC Dallas, to that locker room, especially after missing last season. So you saw Heider Obrion's kick, his shot there, a little deflected thing. You just take them. You take them where you can get them at this point in the season. And FC Dallas still has plenty of left to play for and to shore up a home playoff match in the coming games. So let's just start there before we hit some other topics and talk some North Texas and stuff tonight. But let's just start with that. Like, you know, Jose, you know, FC Dallas, it wasn't pretty. But they got a draw. They got a draw on the road, and they secured their playoff spot. And
I think had they not been down to 10 men, it'd be a disappointing result. But honestly, 1-1 down to 10 men, you got to take that as a good result.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, being a man down. So. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Clinching the playoffs now, that part of us of FCD fans can stop worrying about are we going to make the playoffs or not. We're back, and now we're on to positioning. You know, securing hopefully a home spot, which they could do as early as this weekend. So this upcoming weekend it is. So yeah, I think we're all fired up about that.
Yeah, in this match, you just take all of those factors together. Alan Velasco still rehabbing from an injury, and hopefully he'll be ready to go. I hope this weekend, but we may not hold our breath yet. Paul Arriola obviously now is not going to be available this weekend. He's been with the United States men's national team, but that unnecessary red card. I watched the instant replay of it today, and I agree. You know, it was a red, and it was just a dumb move, and I don't know what he was thinking. But, you know, hey, it happens. Maybe
it happens in the middle of the match. You know, sometimes your emotions get the best of you, and you do reckless stuff. You know, we don't know, you know, if there was a lot of back and forth on the field and whatnot. And sometimes, you know, that your opponents, they know you. They want to egg you on. They want you to lose a little control, and it happens. You know. But at least it happened now, and not later. You know, not at the end of the season. You know, so that can be done and out of the way in time for the playoffs.
And all of this just creates that opportunity as we open the show with a quote there from Bernard Comungo, who you know made his professional FC Dallas debut with the team. And now he may even start with North Texas out of the playoffs this weekend. You know, he may not start, but he may get some minutes at least. which is a good thing for him. And the team desperately needs another attacker right now.
And that would be huge if they trust him enough to start him. He's definitely a difference maker, and I mean it's not going to hurt you any to give him minutes before the playoffs roll around. So yeah, I mean I think it's going to be curious to see how many other people get minutes. I'm curious to see how many North Texas guys, uh, because you got to remember Parker's now can come back now to the team. Your favorite player Bartlett can return to the team. I mean, there, there's and of course there's the rumor that Mulatu got signed. So who knows? I'm curious to see if any North Texas guys will make the 18. And of course, I think we all expect Bernard to get minutes. The question is, do they bring him off the bench? Do they give him a start? Um, yeah, I hope he gets a start. I'd love to see it.
It'd be exciting. I mean, and of course, a lot's gonna. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they line up and what Jesus and how Jesus is available coming out for the United States men's these friendlies and things, which I imagine he'll be rested up. He may not get many minutes in this game tomorrow night, but it's gonna. This will be another game management situation where Nico's gonna have to get more out of some of these guys and dig deep, and we may even see El Medcar and some others get a look. But
Yeah,
definitely, I mean, Hyder Obrian scoring, getting a goal, I will. I'll take it. I mean, I'd love for him
I think
to.
I think we all take it.
Yeah.
We haven't seen too much of that from him this year, so it was a nice thing to see. And you know, game management. With Jesus coming back, Ariella coming back from U.S. men's national team play. I mean, just the travel alone, you think I think he's probably going to rest them. I would be surprised if he starts them. You know, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't start them. Let's put it that way. But I'm sure the competitors in them, if they, at least Jesus, if he can start, he will start. But why chance it? It'll depend on Nico, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jesus on the bench.
And heads up to our viewers, if you are posting in a comment right now, we're having some kind of issue with it's not showing up here in my software, so I have opened up the chat. So feel free to repost if you've posted a question or want to shift the conversation a little bit, and we'll get that in to the conversation. Yeah, I mean, FC Dallas is going to have to definitely close out this season digging deep into its bench and relying on guys. I mean, we definitely saw Hara getting some more minutes, but and we see the downsides that come with that. So it'll just be interesting to see how Nico approaches the match against Colorado in Colorado, knowing that points will really boost that playoff positioning, right?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is, if you're looking at it from a distance, you've got Colorado, you've got Sporting Kansas City as your last two games. You're like, oh yeah, two teams that are out of the playoffs, nothing to play for. This should be a walk. Except if you take a closer look and pay good attention to your opponents, Colorado is pretty dang tough at home. They got 9 out of their 16 home matches they've won. And I'm not sure if it's 5 draws or 5 losses. I get my numbers mixed up. But yeah, it's they're a tough team to beat at home. They're miserable on the road, but we're not playing them on the road. And that high altitude, they put it to good use. It's going to be very tough to come out of there with 3 points. It has been for anybody that goes there, and of course, Sporting Kansas City is red hot at the end of the year. So 2 games that on paper said, wow, and even in San Jose, that looked like an easy game, and then you're down to 10 men, and now it's not so easy. So yeah, this will be some very interesting matches that a couple of weeks ago I always said, oh yeah, this is going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah,
not anymore.
Yeah, Sporting Kansas City in particular, I think they're going to come out and look to Those guys are playing for pride. They're playing also for next season. And Coach Vermees, he's
And let's not forget that the Sporting Kansas City FC Dallas matches are always very chippy.
mhm,
They are very. I mean, you talk about rivalries. That's a rivalry that's always been there. I mean, maybe it's not the biggest of rivalries in MLS, but when you see these teams play, they play like bitter rivals, and you get a lot of nasty stuff going on both sides. So yeah, that game should be a rough one, more so than the Colorado game, and it's it'll be a grind. I mean, but hey, come on, FCD,
mhm.
get three out of one of these. I mean, I'd be happy with 4 points from the last two games. I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this weekend if you can get points out from Colorado, if you can just find a way, to kind of move forward. Maybe you do then choose to rest some guys in that final weekend. You give yourself some options, and I think that's what Coach Nico and the crew would like to do. Have some flexibility, just to let guys continue to rehab. But hey, there's a lot to play for. It's going to be interesting to see these last two. I mean, I would love 6 points. I would love for this team just to be going into the playoffs with a ton of momentum, having scored multiple goals in each match. That would be
Yeah,
ideal.
I agree with that to a point, but I mean, really, it comes down to if let's say they win at Colorado, that I'm fairly sure that locks them into the fourth spot.
Mm,
And if you have no shot at the third spot, then and you
right.
can't drop down to five. So I mean, we'll have to watch the results after during the Colorado weekend, and it could be that whether we like it or not, that last match may not have any positional meaning in the playoffs.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not likely going to happen, but you never know if it goes to that. If it goes to that point where then you may not even try to win that last game. You may simply do what you did with the Tigres game, where you basically played a bunch of players that haven't been getting playing time or are coming off of injuries and are rusty, and get everybody in form. And I think
I agree with that.
the
Yeah.
Colorado game result, I think, will determine what happens, and other results around the league will determine what that Sporting Kansas City game looks like.
That's good. That's some good stuff. And so, and here's the funny thing. Like I've been watching, professional soccer a lot since it's been a few years since almost since what 2010 or so that I've really gotten into it. Before that, it was very casual. I always thought the three sub rule was just really stark. It was just really brutal, and a sport that can be very physical. So a lot changes too with even that, and I'm hoping that rule sticks around. But hey, yeah, that final game you give some of your guys a run out, and then you just start subbing in three sets of three. You can almost I don't know what the current limit is and everything, but I know you have 3 windows to sub in guys, and so
Yeah, I
you
think
could really do some things like that too to just rest guys and take the game as it comes. But I've always thought the three sub rule was just so English, so like we're just brutal and you're gonna have
well,
to
I mean,
gut
the,
it
the
out.
the people that don't like it are the purists and the traditionalists. They're like, oh, it's always been that way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But honestly, I would hope that they either stick to the five-player rule. It's a great rule for teams that are very young and have a lot of players that need minutes. And it's also a good rule for teams with older players that need to rest a lot, to have that as added, and not everybody uses them, but to have them, that'd be great. But if let's say they do away with it, I would hope that they keep the injury clause. Like, hey, it's a three-man rule, but if there's an exception for if you've got somebody that's forced out of the game through injury, and you could give them two exceptions, and so you keep the five-man substitution rule in case of injury. You got somebody who suffers what do you call it,
Yeah, concussion.
concussion.
Hmm.
That shouldn't, if you lose your goalkeeper to concussion, it kind of sucks to be down, not only using your backup goalkeeper, but only have two substitutes left.
Right.
So I would hope that they at least keep the medical exceptions for concussions and for other nasty injuries and say, hey, you get up to two in case that happens, and still keep your three. So I would hope that the five stays somehow, even if modified.
Well, good stuff. Maybe we'll come back to this, but let's go ahead and turn our attention to North Texas SC. I don't really know that there's a lot to. Well, let's talk before we get there, because we can talk for a while about North Texas. But real quickly,
you can get carried away. Yeah.
United States men's national team played Japan in a friendly and really looked awful. Jesus got the start, but he had a decent opportunity on goal, a header, but the whole team played miserably. Not a lot Jesus could do.
My observations on that is they looked very disjointed, and the words come out, and I don't know if there's any truth to it, but the word is that the United States didn't even bother watching video on Japan. So they didn't scout them. They just said, we're going to go out there and do our thing. And they basically went out there against a team that scouted them very well and played, played like a team. Where my biggest complaints about the game were two things. One, the midfield is supposed to be our strength, and the midfield played. I mean, they got bossed around. They got outplayed. They made tons of turnovers. And while we're all, all us fans are complaining about this defensive player and that defensive player, and some deserve, some not, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you line up on defense. If your midfield keeps cuffing up the ball, and your side of the field, sooner or later, that's going to bite you. And they did it so many times. I know the backline did it too. But your strength, your midfield, they're supposed to be the guys that are going to carry your team.
Especially in that kind of system too,
Yes. And honestly, that's my disappointment. As far as Jesus, I honestly think Jesus was basically given a big disservice with the way the team played in the first half. They weren't very aggressive. They kept one of the two. They kept was it Vines, our left back?
Mm-hmm.
They kept him back defensively the entire first half. The commentators were like, why isn't he going forward? You're only going forward on the right side, and it just.
Yeah.
They played, because they were playing so horribly. They played very defensively, and it didn't give Jesus any favors. Do him any favors. In the second half, they were a little more aggressive. You saw Vines going forward more. And I'm like, man, that's what they should have done when Jesus was on the field, not once he was off. So I think the game plan all the way around did not benefit a lot of the players. And if anyone says this guy played good or that played good, they all played bad. And I think Berhalter deserves the criticism for how that panned out. As a manager, you need to put your players in a position to succeed, and he did not do that. Mm-hmm. He basically, if it's true that they didn't bother watching video on this and of a Japanese opponent that was motivated to start out good, I have a theory on this, and I don't want to get too, tinfoil hat about it. But sometimes managers go out there, and Japan is a team that's going to be in the World Cup. And I believe their next opponent is also in the World Cup, Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to show your cards. You want to go out there and treat it like a preseason game and run a vanilla offense and vanilla defense. And I'm thinking that's what it looked like out there. It looked like, hey, we're not going to game prep for these guys. We're not going to show them what we're capable of. Go out there. We're just going to play our base game, work on your positioning, work on our basics. And we don't want to show them what we're capable of, because we may have to play these guys if we ever get out of our group.
Hmm.
And honestly, that's the vibe I got from that. I mean, you see it. If you watch other sports, like uh, when you watch the NFL or you watch even in preseason game, in MLS or any others, teams don't play to their full potential in a preseason match because they don't want to show you everything. They don't want to show you the wrinkles. They don't want to show you, you know, and that's the. I'm not saying that this is true. I'm
No.
saying this is my opinion. That you got to wonder if Berhalter is basically saying we don't want to show these guys what we're working on. We don't want people to have tape on us saying, "Hey, look, this is how the U.S. is doing this and that," and that has some value. But at the same time, you don't also got to have a strong locker that's not going to get too down because of some losses going into the World Cup. So I mean, it can go both ways. You know, it can hurt your team
Yeah.
if the team comes in with dragging their heads. So hopefully that's what it is. It's just the team basically, or Berhalter being paranoid and not wanting to show his hands to his opponents.
It's a thought. I don't know. I'm sure there's a little bit of that in there that Berhalter didn't want these guys. He's like, hey, it's a friendly. It doesn't matter. We want to get guys fit. We want to use this as a chance to work on some patterns and develop some
I'm
confidence.
not
And
Yeah, I'm not trying to discredit Japan. I'm sure that Berhalter didn't expect this team to look that bad
mhm,
and to Japan to
right,
look that good. So I'm not trying to discourage Japan. I'm just criticizing the United States approach to the match,
yeah,
and that's what I'm criticizing. I'm not. I think Japan played like a team who was taking the game very seriously, and I think as a manager, that's what you hope to get. I mean,
hmm,
you want your opponent to bring an eight squad or a uh, 1B squad. You want them to field a strong team against your team so your team can get as close to an actual game atmosphere as possible. And you know, Japan did that, man. I absolutely they should schedule these guys more often in friendlies. I mean, it was a quality loss.
yeah. Well, and we'll see how Tuesday night goes. Pepe is supposedly getting the start. Good for him. I know there's a lot of drama on U.S. men's national team Twitter about
USA
players and
Twitter is nothing but drama.
just drama,
It,
but
it
yeah, I don't
doesn't
know.
matter. It doesn't matter who starts. It's
Yeah,
half the fandom will be against him.
yeah.
It doesn't matter who.
Well, let's jump over to North Texas. North Texas SC yet last night played in their opening round match of the MLS Next Pro inaugural playoffs. Really interesting playoffs because there's only 8 teams total, four in
Yes.
each conference. So credit to North Texas for being one of the top 4 teams. So they had that fourth spot, played St. Louis, and what you've said all year long about Jose about St. Louis, it's true that granted North Texas just took care of business against St. Louis at home, but St. Louis when they play their internationals, their veteran guys, it just really they're just a skill. They have skill, they have quality and experience that a young squad like North Texas doesn't necessarily have. And
And
I'll give credit to even I think Colin Bartlett. I thought he played a good 50 minutes or so. I think he was all right. He showed even a little bit of passing range and stuff. But at some point, quality just wins out. You can only hold off for so long. And Jimmy
so
Moore in goal as well brought a little stability to the back line. But boy, it just was not North Texas's night.
no, and I mean St. Louis, an older team, they can play physical. They basically played the old school, and I say old school USL League One style of play, which is basically clog up the middle, play defense, force North Texas to hold possession and try to break you down and hit them on the counter, hit them on the counter. And how many times St. Louis, get their counter off with two, three straight quick passes and boom, you know, North Texas was
Yeah.
constantly having to watch out for those counters, and eventually St. Louis got through. But that has always been the tried and true method of defeating North Texas. They're such a young club. I mean, very young. I mean, the elder guy on there is who is, well, besides Mar, is Blaine Ferry, I think maybe. I mean, 22, 21.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else on that roster is 19, 20. I mean, well, Bartlett, of course, is 25. So,
It's an old
but
man compared to
but
some.
his backline mate was an academy kid, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Missing
you
and
got
the Nortex was missing both Carrera and actually missing three guys, right?
Mulatto,
And
Mulatto, and
Mulatto. Mulatto.
but Mulatto is the one that really missed him
Yeah, I
because
did.
uh, I know I was very excited to see Scott start, but Scott didn't really wasn't very effective as the center forward. He's more of a midfielder, attacking midfielder type from what I've seen him. Uh, so yeah, he struggled out there, and the other players that they brought in, they all struggled. And Mulatto, when he's out there, he's one of those guys that just needs one or
Mm-hmm.
two touches, and he can punish you. And it was just amazing how badly they missed him.
Yeah.
I was surprised, honestly. It was
They were
obvious
missing
hole.
that. They were missing that final third. Yeah, that really coming together, and there was a lot of energy out there, but it just
And
didn't quite.
it made it easier for St. Louis to basically focus on keeping Kamango and Hope. And Hope, for as good as he's been, there was some times where you wish he would shoot instead of pass. There was a couple of times where I thought he was in a great position that it's like, wow, it'd be great if you took a shot. Even if it's not
Yeah,
a high grade
yeah,
shot, it's better than no shot because North Texas is struggling to get any shots off. And Hope is a pass first guy, and this is a game where we could have used him a little more, shots from him than usual. And so yeah, so like I said, the fact that Mulatto wasn't there, it was strikingly shocking how much they missed him. And I'm not saying that St. Louis wouldn't have won. I'm just saying from a North Texas point of view, it did really it was a bigger loss than anticipated for the team.
yeah,
Carrera, I mean, you had Mar. I think they were fine. I
yeah.
mean, it's there's
But
Mar was busy.
Nolan Norris. I mean, maybe he would have helped. He's such a talented youngster.
There was a couple injuries. What I heard is a couple injuries. So Amadume wasn't available.
Mm,
Uh, Nice wasn't available. So I mean, Baker basically was your fourth
mm,
option or third option because Norris was gone. Norris was gone. Amadume wasn't available. Nice wasn't available. So Baker was the fourth center back down.
mm-hmm.
I mean, he played good. He played good. I'm not knocking on him. I'm just
Yeah.
pointing out basically that, like you said, North Texas missing players, and that's just the way it works. It's you can't control those things.
Well, after the game, I did jump on the call as well as our friend Jack McLean, who you could follow his work at bigdsoccer.com. Coach Call was very proud of this group, proud of their accomplishments and achievements, and all the academy players who have made debuts over the course of the season. A lot of young players getting a taste of professional soccer and getting that sense of what it means, what it will take for them to grow to get to the next level. But he said, you know, he hopes that like the story of like Bernard Kamungo, who's now with the senior team, he hopes there are more stories like that to come. And so gutted for the players, but also proud of those moments as well. And I asked him, what's next for the team, and of course they're going to have some practice. They're going to get back, finish up some things as a team, but then eventually, those decisions are going to come. And he wouldn't give us any sense of what the team might be feeling. And he said some of that's above him with the front office, which makes sense, but still. I think that'll be a big question is to see, all right, how are they going to construct this roster in season 2? Who's going to stick around for another year? Does Hope Avayewu, is he going to be another guy in the mix? Is he worked himself out? Ferry, some other guys, are they just ready to move on to the next level? And and for me, like the immediate guys are the FC Dallas draft picks. Obviously Parker, I could see him. He still has room to grow at that level, and he has grown over the course of this season. And maybe even with an off season can break into some senior teams possibility. But Bartlett is the other one that first round draft pick just really. And this was a
Well,
perfect game for him. Like for 45 minutes, he was like, "Hey, He's trying to create some things. He's holding his own,
There's a
showing some
couple of
savvy,
guys.
and then he
I'll,
gives
I'll
a
tell you,
handball.
I'll tell you right now. There's a couple of guys that have, now that the season's concluded, that have outgrown North Texas and should not be with the team next year. And we'll start with the back line. Bartlett. Bartlett, he's either, I mean, if he's not good to help FCD, then and he's still on the roster, then he's got to go to a USL championship team.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be with North Texas next year. Parker, same thing. Parker, honestly, I think down the stretch, he looked like he was at a point where he was better than the opposition he was playing against. Maybe that wasn't obvious against St. Louis, but against the average MLS next pro, yeah, Parker is another player who needs to be either on the senior roster next year or in a at a higher level than MLS Next Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two backline guys that I think are ready to move up. From the midfield, Blaine Ferry. I think we're seeing the last days of Blaine Ferry with North Texas. He's a player that is too good for North Texas, and if the senior team isn't going to sign him, I don't know if they have him contracted for another year. If they do, I would suspect they're going to do a loan with a buy option for Ferry. That's another player I expect to be gone next year. Of course, Kamango's already been signed to senior team, and the rumors that Mulato's been signed to the senior team. So those are 5 guys that I think are too good for North Texas and will be gone, not because they're bad players, but because they should be playing at a higher level, whether it's with FC Dallas or on loan or simply let go so they can find a better job themselves. Something will happen to those 5 players. As far as other players that
what about Sante? Like he hasn't had a
So-
ton of time with the team, maybe
so-
a couple months.
Sante
I like
was
what he brings. He's lucky not to have been sent off though on Sunday night.
So Sante is interesting choice. It'll depend on what the coach decided, if there was enough time, because he's got a buy clause, and they had a short window, and so his strengths were his physicality and that just nastiness that North Texas has been missing. But not having played with the team, it was obvious that he was out of position on several of those St. Louis attacks. So he was very hit and miss, and it'll come down to, yes, I like some of his intangibles, but at the same time, he doesn't look like a player that possesses the speed at that level to play at the next level. And that's basically what you want in North Texas. You want to find players that show they have potential to play at a higher level. And I'm not sure that he does. I'm not sure that he has, he's big, physical. There's a lot of things to like about him.
He brings something to the team that the team is lacking, but can they find that somewhere else, right?
So he is young enough, and it'll come down to if it's like 100K, then you can say, okay, he's 19, turning 20. Give him a couple of years for North Texas. But at the same time, I think he's probably just another Jata. Remember Jata from North Texas? I thought that guy was a beast at the USL League One level, but he was never going to be good enough for FC Dallas, and that's who he reminds me of on just what I have seen from him. Just a nastier version of him. I'm curious. I'd be curious to see. I will point out that I do expect them to buy Amadume, who they got on loan from Pacific.
Okay.
Amadume not playing against St. Louis was huge loss. He is the backline player that has played the most minutes for North Texas, and I do expect them, as long as it's not an outrageous price, to get bought and be brought back.
But disappointing end of the season. But I Coach Call, they're going to be making their decisions. I think this model is what we're going to come to expect from North Texas now, is that we're going to see a lot of academy guys get minutes, and they're going to come and go based on form, based on just availability and things. Guys are going to get chances to show where they are. Uh, and that's good for the system. That's what academy players need to be doing,
Yeah,
getting that kind of experience.
I think North Texas as a whole this season was successful, or the level of that success will depend on how many players get to senior team. That's always should be what the team's measured by,
Mm-hmm.
not whether they won the title or whatnot. It's how many players did you provide to move up to senior roster. And I think when it's all said and done, it'll be a very successful season for North Texas in that regard. At the same time, though, we saw a shift with them, like you said. They FC Dallas realized that North Texas is going to be playing in a lesser league than they were last year, uh, and acted accordingly. They said, "Hey, we're not going to be loaning Cerrillo, Cervania, uh, Munjoma, who could have used some minutes." They said, "No, Ahmed Kahar, they're too good for that level. We're not going to play them at that level." And I've always liked about FC Dallas. They said, "Hey, MLS Next Pro is not USL Championship level. It's basically the next step above the U19s, and that's how they treated it." And I applaud it. I just hope that they need to find an actual affiliate that is willing to take, and I mean willing to take like 4 or 5 guys, not one or two, not like the Tulsa. I like, we'll send you Cervania, we'll send you Jesus. No, I mean an affiliate that says, hey, send us 5, 6 of your guys. We'll play them. It'll save our budget as long as you guys pay for their month, for their expenses. They should try to get that kind of affiliation so that they can guarantee Parker, Bartlett, uh, Hope, maybe, some minutes at a higher level guaranteed before you say, okay, now we can determine if you're good enough to be, if you're ready for FC Dallas. That
That's the
missing rung,
model.
that
Yeah,
missing rung in the
that
development
missing
ladder,
rung. That missing rung.
development ladder. Yeah.
Ooh, no good. No good. 59-yard attempt from the Dallas Cowboys, but they're going to the half
They're up.
6-3.
They're up. It's an
Boy,
ugly game.
it's a low-scoring game. Is that a soccer score? Is that 6-3?
Honestly, my comment to all of my fellow Cowboys fans is, and was saying this after the Tampa Bay game, Dallas is gonna win games. It's gonna be ugly because we're missing our big guns, and whatnot. Our offensive line's a mess. But until they get healthy, they have enough to win some really drag down, beat down games. They
Mm-hmm.
won ugly against Cincinnati, and I think they'll win ugly today, but they'll win. We're not gonna be bragging about, oh hey, we won by field goal. but but you stack those wins on top of another, and that's pretty much what FC Dallas did. FC Dallas stacked 1-0 wins on top of each other, and 0-0 or 1-1 draws on the road, and next thing you know, boom, we're in the playoffs. We were like, man, we were really that good? Yeah, they stacked wins. They did what they
Mm-hmm.
had to do to win. They did what they had to do to get draws, and honestly, I haven't had a chance to read it, but I saw an article, I think from maybe it was Dallas Nation. I could be, no, D Magazine, where they're saying, honestly, if you're one of the other playoff teams, Dallas is not one of the teams you want to have to run across, because you either play them at home where they're tough to beat, or they've already proven that they can win on the road, something that Dallas wasn't known for,
Right.
but this season
Right.
they are. So they are a dangerous opponent for anybody, and that's a step forward, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, if there's one thing we didn't talk about was that Dallas had a friendly on Saturday against Tigres, and didn't even watch it.
I
Both Jose and I did not watch it. So,
No, it was what it was. It was just
yeah.
basically get Hedges, get Quinion, get all these guys that are rusty, are coming back from injury, that needed minutes, give them minutes. And honestly, no one's disappointed with the result. I know I'm not. I'm not. None of us are surprised by it. But I'm one of those people that say, hey, I'm glad the team did it, because as long as you come out of it without any injuries, it's good for the team. It's good for the team to get out there against an opponent, and a live opponent. And even though it's a friendly, you know, Sure, there's some pride at stake, and just get them comfortable with being out there 60, 70 minutes. Because that's basically its confidence, for a player coming back from injury. There's always in the back of your head, that can I make it? Can I go? Will my legs or will my stamina hold up? So I think it's good. I'm happy they did it. I didn't watch it, but I kind of knew how that was going to go, especially when you looked at the lineup.
Well, let's leave the show there. Some good action this weekend as FC Dallas travels to Colorado. Should be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to see Kamungo get some more minutes. He's played up there before. He's played in Colorado, so I don't think it'll be overwhelming for him. But the team may need him. There may not be many other options.
Could be a very interesting lineup.
Yep.
Definitely, like I said, it's. I don't know. I think we're all gonna be nervous about it once we see the lineup. We'll be like, what? But at the same time, I hope the team's proven that they can get results on the road. So I'll be happy with any result on the road. And I would not be shocked if they walk out of there with a draw.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll, of course, upload the audio to wherever you find podcasts. Please subscribe and leave a comment and help us grow the show. Thanks, Jose.
All right. Thanks, Nate.